Hi everybody, welcome back to Harmon Speaks. We got a great show for you today, so I appreciate you joining in. Daylight savings time is over. It's dark and cold outside, so come on in and watch a little Harmon Speaks. Tonight we have Victoria here with us, and Victoria and I have just now met, and she has cerebral palsy, which from here henceforth, if you are all right with that, I'm going to call it CP, because I can't decide between cerebral and cerebral. So we're going to call it CP. And I thank you, first of all, Victoria, for being on the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you are very welcome. We're very welcome. I want you to understand that when it comes to CP, I know nothing. So I want you to help me walk through it, because I suspect there are other people out there that don't know much either.
Well, I can help you roll through it, but I can't help you walk.
Oh, we have a comedian. Yay! That was beautiful. Thank you. Okay, help me roll through it. I can go with that.
Let's go.
Okay, so how do I understand it?
Well, for my understanding, fun fact.
Okay.
I didn't know a lot about my own disability until I was a freshman in college.
Okay.
I was in a comm studies class. I had to do an informative speech, and I was like, what could I do an informative speech on? I was like, I have CP. Let's look into that.
Right.
And I was 19 when I started to learn more about my own disability.
Right.
What that looks like. And CP has a ton of different presentations. There's 4 different types. I have the most common type of CP.
Which is?
It's called spastic diplegia. It's where 2 of your limbs are affected, either your upper limbs or your lower limbs. And basically you're spastic. You have a lot of trouble. You have either hypertonia or hypotonia. Too much muscle tone or too little muscle tone.
Okay.
And
how do they manifest? Too much or too little?
for me,
Okay.
I don't know. It just depends on the area of the body. Like a lot of times, I get a lot of spasticity pain, especially as I get older in my legs.
Okay.
And I get cramps really easily.
Okay.
That's why I was talking about earlier about me not liking the cold very much, because that tenses me
Makes
up.
it worse.
And I don't realize that I'm in pain until I get away from the cold.
Oh, okay. 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 All right. So I'm going to ask this, and then you may throw something at me, but how did you get to be a freshman in college before you knew much about CP?
Well, I knew that it was a disability, and I knew that growing up, I knew that I probably wouldn't be able to walk without a walker. I do walk with a walker, like short distances, but I knew that it affected me in a way that I probably would never be able to walk independently.
Okay.
But that is about as much as I knew about it, because I was raised in a family full of able-bodied people. We never really talked about disability very much.
Okay. I can relate to
Didn't
that.
really learn to accept it as part of my identity until I was an adult, in very recent years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they take you to a doctor that specialized this when you were a child, or how did it get you started?
When I was 4, it was one of the first few procedures of its type. It's called a selective dorsal rhizotomy, SDR. My understanding is they cut out rootlets in my backbone and my spine to help with my balance and my trunk strength.
Okay.
My mom says that before I had that procedure, I could barely sit up on my own.
Okay.
I still need a fair amount of support. You can see I have this back cushion first and help.
Well, I guess I want to know, how did they know what you had and how to deal with it?
I think at around, from what I can remember my mom telling me, I think at around a year they noticed that I wasn't hitting the typical milestones.
Okay.
And they said, we should, take her to the doctor, get her checked out. As far as I know, before I was a candidate for the surgery, I just had a regular primary care physician.
Okay.
But the doctor that did the surgery was a neurologist, a pediatric neurologist in St. Louis at the Children's Hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you grew up in St. Louis?
I grew up in Kingsport, Tennessee, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just traveled there for the surgery.
I understand. Okay. Well, that's great. My wife grew up in Johnson City, so anybody that comes from that part of the state, I like them usually. So
Does she love pals as much as I do?
You what?
Does she love pals as much as I do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pals is awesome.
I consider that the greatest thing she's ever done for me.
Pals is addictive.
If you don't know what Pals is, to say it's a burger joint is derogatory. It is the heaven of hamburgers.
Hot dog heaven.
And hot dogs too. Although I can't say I've had their hot dogs, but I can't eat their hot dogs if their hamburgers looking at me. I have to have those first.
Yeah.
But Pals is wonderful. I knew that Knoxville was uncivilized when I realized we didn't have it. And it was just very sad. Very sad to me. Fortunately, we do have a few decent burgers. But anyway, I digress. Never tell a fat man about food. You'll lose the whole night. I'm going to have to go out and eat now. Neil, you going with me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, well, anyway, we're going to behave now. All right, so you went to St. Louis and you got the surgery. Did you have any other medical assistance?
When I was younger, I had hippotherapy, like therapeutic horseback riding.
Okay.
To help with balance and coordination.
Okay.
And I would do that individually and sometimes in groups.
Okay.
I went from the age of 4 to about the age of 15. I got really busy like halfway through high school and just stopped being able to make time to go riding. But I would do physical therapy like weekly for a long time when I was a kid. And I was taken out of class in elementary school to work with an OT, which I didn't like. Now I understand the purpose of it, but I didn't like it when I was little.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that, yeah. How do you ride a horse?
How do I ride a horse? I will have somebody assist me in like mounting the horse at a mounting block, and then they'll have like sidewalkers, which are people that literally walk beside me and make sure, hold on to my thigh and make sure that my feet don't slip out of the stirrups and then I don't fall forward and off the horse.
Okay, and you can hold yourself up. Otherwise, okay, fantastic. Right.
Do you do this at Shangri-La or somewhere else?
I rode at a facility called Small Miracles in Gray. I'm kind of interested in getting back into riding here.
Well, Shangri-La is your place then. That's out in the North City. And he and I did a show there once. We loved it. It was great.
I would love to. My concern is transportation, like how would I get there and how would I get back.
I don't know that, yeah. Well, if you do work it out, let us know. We'll come watch you ride.
Okay.
Scare the horse and all that. No, Neil, don't do that. That's not nice.
I have been thrown off before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Wow. And you were okay?
Yeah.
Did you get hurt? Okay. Just thinking about that keeps me off a horse, so I do not want to do that. But at no Catalyst Sports, I won't ride a horse. They're always trying to get me to do things I don't want to do. But anyway, tell me a little bit about school. Once you started school, did you have any kind of modifications or anything like that?
It's interesting because actually in school, people are surprised. They're like, oh, you have a disability, you have a CP? Like, they assume that all presentations of disability are the same, and that I'm not at the same cognitive level as my peers. I was in honors classes and I was in AP classes as a high school student, just like the rest of my friends. Like, I was held to very high standards. And I had an IEP, so my parents did talk about modifications with my teachers like throughout grade school years, but I actually wasn't in on those meetings. I was usually in class. It was just meetings with the parents and teachers. I didn't know until I was in undergrad that I was supposed to be able to attend those meetings.
Yeah.
So
that
was an interesting discovery.
Well, that's an interesting choice on their part. But I have a son with autism, and he just this year started attending his own meetings. So not for any other reason other than we just weren't sure he really wanted to hear all this. But now he's able to listen and participate, and he can tell us what he wants. So. Typical teenager.
I remember very specifically, like, not having been in on these meetings as a child in grade school, and then I got to UT as a freshman, went into ODS to talk about the accommodations that I might need for classes, The counselor asked me what kind of accommodations that I needed, and I had no clue how to answer her.
Right.
I had no clue how to advocate for myself, so I've been learning that over the past 10 or so years.
Right. Right. So have you figured it out now?
I don't think I'll ever have it fully figured out,
Okay.
but I'm doing a lot better than I was, yeah.
Okay. Did you go to University of Tennessee, Knoxville?
Yes, sir. I graduated in 2013.
Great, great. So you've been out for a while. So you are not personally responsible for our win over Kentucky? Okay, well, take that, Kentucky. Well, anyway, great. That's great.
So are the things that they tell you in advocating for yourself, sticking up for yourself.
Really advocating for myself,
Yeah.
I didn't learn until I was 27 and in therapy.
Okay.
But as far as like things that I might need in a classroom setting when I got to school, they were like, well, how about like, time and a half on a test and like typing things out instead of handwriting them because
Right.
I'm a slower writer than most people.
Sure.
Yeah. So like very practical accommodations they help me with, but like
Okay.
as far as advocating for like how I'm feeling and what I need, didn't learn that until I got into therapy.
Okay. Right. Well, good. That's good that you did then, though.
Yeah.
And what is your degree in?
Spanish.
Spanish. Very nice. What do you do with that now? Or do you?
I do not currently do anything with it. Sometimes I will get like individual tutoring clients, but that hasn't been the case for a while now.
Right.
Especially since we've been in a pandemic.
Right. Sure.
But yeah, I was in a graduate program, but it was a very intense graduate program, and the pace wasn't sustainable.
Okay.
When I was younger, I had like this huge ambition of working as a simultaneous interpreter at the UN. And I figured out that I hate simultaneous interpreting.
Right. Right.
It's very stressful.
It is.
I love the Spanish language, and I will consume all the content, all the videos, all of the podcasts, all the music, and I'll interact with my friends, but just the thought of like doing that every day for a job and getting burnt out is a little overwhelming right now. So I'm kind of looking elsewhere at what else I could do.
And then translating somebody else's ideas is not much fun.
Yeah.
I used to teach French, and every now and then somebody said, will you translate? No, I really don't want to.
Spent a lot of time in my French translation classes with recipes, which is the only thing I really liked.
Right. Have you been to a Spanish-speaking country?
Yes, sir.
Which one did you go to?
I went to the southeast of Spain in the summer of 2011.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, how did you like it?
I loved it.
How were you received?
Well,
Uh-huh.
generally very friendly people. They like it, in that respect, it lives up to the stereotype. What was interesting when I first got there, I didn't really think about this, but like I would speak to them and they're like, "Oh, you don't sound Spanish. You sound like you're from Mexico."
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was always told that I speak French like a Canadian. I'm going to assume that's a good thing. I don't
Quebec.
know. Yeah, I got rid of my Knoxville accent, I reckon, so that's good right there. But they would say, I don't know what that means. I've heard people from Quebec. I can't really tell where. The only difference is they speak slower than Parisians do, as Parisians don't want anyone to understand them. So they move really, really fast. But okay, well, anyway, we were talking earlier a little bit about how people respond to you because of your differences. Would you tell me a little bit about how that has gone for you?
I didn't really notice many negative responses when I was little. I'm sure that my parents did, and they wanted to try to like protect me from it. I've noticed as I've gotten older, like the friends and the people that you want to keep in your life will never really consider you a burden for needing like extra accommodations, more time, like different circumstances than what they're used to. And even now, like I'm dealing with that with people close to me. So a little disheartening, but that's what is like pushing me more towards activism for people with disabilities. Have you heard the term like ableist? Yeah.
You want to tell the audience what that means?
Ableist, very simply put, is discrimination against people with disabilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you run into that a lot? Or some?
Yeah. Especially here, like the older I get, the more that I notice it.
Mm-hmm. How do you see it manifested?
Some of that I don't think I can say on camera.
Okay. Well, I know what you're saying. It'll make you uncomfortable, but this is the internet. You'd say mostly anything. But it's up to you.
I'll just say that, like, some people in kind of my inner circle
Okay.
are, like, not as accepting of me as I would hope that they would
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That is a life changer, and I understand that. And I have, in my own life, had that happen before. And when it does, my only solution is to get rid of them. I don't know how to live with people who somehow feel held back by me.
Yeah. Well, in my case, I can't get rid of them, so I just kind of have to learn to coexist with them.
Yeah, okay. I understand. I even have relatives I don't even talk to. I can't do that, you know.
Yeah.
I spent too much of my life in very tense emotional situations, and I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that. I just want to be peaceful.
I'm at a point in life where, you know, I'm 31,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just learning. Also, I don't know if you've heard of, like, the medical model of disability versus the social model of disability.
I'm not sure I have, no.
Basically, the medical model of disability, which is the one that we're, like, conditioned to believe in growing up as people with disabilities and like society that interacts with people with disabilities, like basically believing that every disability needs a cure and that it's a bad thing, and it's like,
I don't
you know,
understand.
like, whereas like with the social model, you talk about like disability is just a part of a person's identity.
Right.
All they need is, you know, accommodations. Like it's just a different way to exist.
Right.
So that's helping me like accept being disabled as an adult.
Right.
Is leaning into that view of disability.
Right. I completely agree with that, because I don't apologize for the way I turned out. You know, my hands are my hands.
Yeah.
I don't have feet. Big deal. I can't see how that holds anybody back but me. And it doesn't hold me back much. I walk 2 miles a day, thank you very much. So I don't really think it holds me. But if anybody is inconvenienced by my disability, whether trains, planes, and automobiles leaving Knoxville every day, take one. Enjoy your life. You know, that's the way I feel about it.
You're not identified by your difference or your disability.
I try not to be, and I don't think you are either.
No,
Yeah.
and that's what you strive for.
Right, right. The fact that I have them is just life.
I'm trying to like straddle the line between like, oh, this is not my entire identity, but it is a part of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But we all have something that we have to adjust for, right? Maybe it's an emotional need, maybe it's some physical need, but we all have something. And I think that just makes us human and a little more interesting. That's the way I feel about it anyway. So tell me what's ahead for you. What do you want to do?
Like I think I mentioned earlier, like leaning more towards
I'm going to let you interpret that the way you want.
leaning more towards advocacy for disabled people.
Fantastic.
I don't know how that's going to show up.
Okay.
Because, you know, I used to kind of want to be an advocate for people that didn't speak English or whose second language was English. And now I'm like, well, this is a part of me and a part of my life, so why not go from here?
Right.
It hits a lot closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what that'll look like. But
Right.
Don't have any big plan in the work yet.
Right.
But
Right.
I think if I just sit on it some more, brainstorm, journal some stuff out, like maybe it'll fall into place or take shape somehow.
Sure. Well, it took me 61 years to figure out which way I want to do this, so don't feel like there's a clock on your shoulder. You've got a little time. But I kept wanting to do something for two parts for me. One, because I was also raised in a home where I was not allowed to use the word disabled. And I understand their philosophy.
It's not a bad word.
Yeah, they think that you're going to hold yourself back if you take on that word. But that's not why I want to use it. I want to use it because I want to be a part of the community.
Right.
Of people who have whatever differences.
Right.
I want to be a part of the community. I want to be able to have this conversation with everybody and learn from their experiences and see what their life's like. But my parents were not hearing it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just like everybody else. And that serves me in some ways.
Serves you to a point, and then it harms you in other ways.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely true. So I wanted to find a way to associate myself with the disability community. And I don't know that I ever thought of myself as being an advocate, but I wanted to be able to use my oral skills to try to help people understand, both people on our side and on other sides.
Right.
So that's what I tried to do, I guess. So, okay. So if a person meets you, what should they do to get to know you? How do you want that to happen?
Just speak to me like you would any other person.
Say that a little louder. I want everybody to hear that.
Okay, if you meet me, speak to me like you would any other person.
Okay.
Able, disabled, doesn't matter.
Right.
I can't walk, but I can hear.
Right.
I can see. I can speak. I don't speak a lot. I speak when I have things to say.
Right.
But I can speak.
Right. Right.
I guess just don't make overarching statement. Assume capability until somebody shows you otherwise.
Nice. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Have you had much experience with people making assumptions? So much.
So much.
So much. Okay.
And what are the assumptions?
Yeah, give me an example.
A very cringy example from the past couple of years.
Okay.
My boyfriend and I and a couple of our friends had gone to a wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd gone out in the morning after the wedding to get brunch.
Okay.
And I'm in my transport chair because I can't take my power chair with me on the trip.
Okay.
This hostess sees me in the chair, kneels down beside me,
Okay.
says, "Oh no, Mama Bear, what happened?"
Okay.
So that is like pet peeve number one. Unless you're a child and
Right.
you truly don't know any better, don't be like, "What's wrong with you? What happened?" to
Right.
you?" Nothing. What's wrong with you?
Right. 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 That is my least favorite question. What happened to you?
So
Well, I'm gorgeous. What happened to you? I don't know what that question means.
we ordered one drink and then left.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the friends that were with us were like, "How often does this happen?" I'm like, "More often than you would think."
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you don't deserve it, and I'm really proud that you found your voice and made sure they know that you are capable and living in the world.
Is there anything that you like formulated in your brain that you want to see changed? A good example would be educating people on the proper way of approaching a person with a disability.
Yeah, just like when you say these things to a disabled person, like, "This is ableist, please don't do this." Like,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Just treat us like people and not objects, please.
Right.
I know a lot of us have objects attached to our bodies, but
Mm-hmm.
we're people.
Right. I have a set, I call these barrier breaker rules that when I speak to a group, I share them. And one of my first is, you don't get to ask about my disability if you don't know my name. Don't walk up to me and go, "Why don't you have hands?" if you don't even know my name, right?
I've never thought about that, but I like that rule.
I really feel like that made sense. Get to know me as a person, then you can ask me most anything.
What about small children? Is that like a...
No, it's not the same for children. And I love it when children come up and ask me, because it shows them curiosity,
Yeah.
and they're not afraid yet.
Most parents' reactions to that too is shh, shh.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, please just ask the question. I promise
Right.
it's fine.
Right.
Nice.
I have had both things, and they either encourage it or discourage it. I always tell folks I want them to encourage it because I don't want kids to. Because what do we not talk about in America? Bad things, right?
Yeah.
We can't talk about naughty things or bad things. And if you can't ask me about my hands, it means I did something bad.
No.
That's the assumption.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want that to be the way people think. Let the kids come. Now, it's nice if they can treat me with some amount of respect. I had one guy walk up to me once. I was at a pool, so I was asking for it, I guess. But this kid walked up to me and he goes, "You ain't got no feet." I love "ain't got no." That's one of my favorite expressions.
That's probably
And
the first thing you corrected about it.
Well, I said, "You ain't got no grammar." And I laughed. And he looked back at me and he goes, "You're ugly." And I said, "Okay, we've crossed the line here." And I said, "Is your mother here?" "Yeah." "Well, go tell her I said you were rude." And he did. And Mama, all 245 pounds of her, rose out of her chair and came to enlighten me. And I sat her down and I told her that she had to understand that there's a generational gap going on here.
Yeah.
Because when I was his age, if I had called some old man rude, my daddy would have beaten me to death. And I don't want anybody to get beaten. But if she wants her son to be a part of regular society, he needs to learn the rules. And she was a little bit embarrassed, maybe, but not much.
Yeah.
He's going to wind up in juvie. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And that's too bad. But, yeah, well, you either raise your children or you
That's
don't.
right.
But I don't mind kids coming up as long as they try to be somewhat respectful. But adults need to treat you like another adult.
Yeah.
I don't ever walk down the hall and go, "Hey, Neil, you ain't got no hair. What happened?" I wouldn't do that.
What about my mama?
What'd you do, buddy? I wouldn't do that. Now, I do tease him, but he deserves it. And friends can do that too. But anyway, I think there's certain things that we need to do to learn to get along with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I tell these things. I tell you something I dislike as much as I'm going to make assumptions about you, is I could be standing there doing everything except something disgusting, and somebody will walk up and go, "You're just such an inspiration to me. I just want to cry right now." And I said, "Well, I do too when I walk by a mirror, but I am not inspiring you." I don't understand that comment.
I have so many thoughts about this.
Well, please.
Say it.
Please share them.
Talking about being anti-ableist, and also I'm anti they call it inspiration porn.
Right.
Disabled people don't exist to inspire you. We just exist
Right.
to exist, and if we inspire you, that's great. But we're not inherently inspired. We're just living.
Right.
I can't count the number of times that I've had people come up to me and be like, "It's so good to see you out." What do you expect me to just stay in the house all the time?
Right.
No.
Yeah. And they don't know what to say because that's what they do assume.
Right.
That, a good person with disability stay home, stay out everybody else's way. And that is not what we
I'm
do.
just disabled. I'm not dead.
Right. Exactly. That may be the best statement we've had on this show. That may be my absolute
That
favorite.
sums it up in a nutshell.
Absolutely my favorite.
Any better than that?
I want you to dig down and tell me one other thing people say or do that upset you, that you want them to stop doing. Yeah, before I'm here.
One thing that hits me pretty deep is,
Okay.
like I was saying, a lot of people with disabilities have this complex that they're a burden.
Right.
And people in my life, whether they intend to or whether they realize it at first or not, have told me directly or indirectly, don't be so needy. For stating what I need, how I'm feeling, these are the accommodations that I need, I feel bad, please let me feel bad, just disabled people are going to need things.
Right.
And it's okay.
Right.
Everybody's going to need help sometimes. Some of us just need more help than others.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's absolutely right. You know, I've not heard a whole lot of that because, unlike you, I weigh 2,500 pounds, and people just don't tend to say things like that. As I'm not a violent man, but I'm loud, and nobody would say that I know of in my own circle. But if they did, it would be the last time. I wouldn't put up with it.
I've had relatives say that, like, jokingly, but, like, I really took it to heart. So I was like, hey, can you not say this anymore?
Yeah.
Because I know you don't mean anything by it, but, like, it hurts
Right.
my feelings when you say that.
Right.
And just eats at you, you know?
Right.
So they don't say it anymore.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's very good. I'm glad you stopped it. My son has autism, and I'm always worried that somebody's going to start telling him what he can't do. And I have found in raising children that no matter how many good things your parents build you up to believe and say, one fear can come in and knock a lot of that out.
Right.
So I don't want that to happen to him. I want him to know how wonderful he is. And he is. He's a great kid. Because he takes after his mother. And he does, actually. I hope she hears this. I may be in trouble with her, so I'm trying to do better. Victoria, I really appreciate you being on the show. I think we've gotten some really interesting, candid things said here. And I know more about cerebral palsy. And I thank you for coming to help us educate us and understand a little bit about what your life is like. I think you're remarkable, and I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing the kind of things you help change.
I will keep you posted.
Huh?
I'll keep you posted.
Okay, I appreciate that. If you are sitting at home and you have a disability and you're just one of those folks that are not going to get out, shame on you. Get up. Get out into the world. There are a lot of us out there trying to make the world a better place for me and you. Get out into the world, live it, love it, find the people you like to be surrounded with, and enjoy your lives. That is my greatest fear, is that there are people at home afraid to get out into the world. It isn't 100% perfect, but it never will be if we're not all working. So thank you if you are a person listening to this and you don't have a disability. Thank you for listening and being an ally and listening to our stories and seeing the person before the disability. I think that's very important, and I appreciate you watching. Remember, I have a Catalyst Sports Challenge that if I get 1,000 subscriptions by May the 1st, I will take my sweet, chubby little body down to the waterfront, and I'm going to get into I'm too scared to say it. Neil, help me. Kayak. Yeah. Kayak is the Native American word for drown the fat man. I don't know if you know that. But that's what it means, drown the fat man. But I will not do it. I'm going to survive it, and it'll be all right. But you got to get those numbers up, folks. You started coming up with some more numbers right after we took the challenge, and then you've leveled off. We're now at about 278 subscribers. That's a long way from 1,000. Please help us. It'll keep us on YouTube longer and make it possible for more people to find my show. Thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time.